Can everyone hear? Okay, there we go. All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the Emotional Wellness Panel. My name is Kaylee Toth. I am the new Health and Wellness Navigator with AVA. If you haven't met me yet, I would like to just say hello and introduce myself. Today, we're gonna have 2 people presenting. Our original plan was to have 3 people presenting, but unfortunately, Melissa is unable to attend today because she had a death in her family. So today, it'll be just Ava and Dr. Mary. Melissa did send us a video explaining her role and as well as apologizing for not being able to be here. So we just wanted to say thank you for being here. We'll play the video first. And then we will go over to Dr. Mary Lewis and Ava, and they will speak about their roles here at Friendship Village of Dublin and what they do for emotional wellness. We will then follow with a Q&A. We will end the session with a touchdown tutorial with the new emotional wellness tab and exploring our new emotional wellness icon. So first, I'm gonna go ahead and play this video.
Raphael was here earlier and we did all of this, but it's decided to boycott us. So I'll just have Dr. Mary and I slide into the middle here, and I can just talk about Melissa's role since we're having technical difficulties. Okay. Well, as Kaylee said, thank you so much for being here. Again, Melissa extends her apologies for not being here today. She really wanted to attend in person, but of course was unable to. Could I start by just seeing a show of hands who has met Melissa Brundage with Centero or gone to one of her emotional wellness presentations? Okay, we got some hands. That's great. So Melissa Brundage is a licensed independent social worker with Centero. Her job with Centero specifically is an older adult program manager. She's been coming here to Friendship Village for a little over a year, once a month, to provide a few services for us as we saw that we wanted to increase our emotional wellness resources here. And so the first thing that Melissa does is she provides an emotional wellness presentation that has had various different topics. She's gone over mindfulness. She went over tips for beating the holiday blues. She's gone over reminiscence. So she's done a really excellent job of pulling out some good topics or getting suggestions from you residents about what you'd like to see. So she's been doing that. I did want to mention, I know we had a lot of people come to her first couple presentations and they were expecting more of a presentation style as opposed to more discussion based. And I know that threw some people off and I think it scared some people away. from coming because you're expecting a presentation and then you're getting thrown into a discussion. So she has changed the format of her presentations to now she'll provide the content of the presentation for about the first 30 minutes. And then there's a short break, and there's the option for those that want to stay and engage in meaningful discussion or a specific kind of exercise she might have. You're able to stay. So I did want to share that with you all, that if you'd really like to just come and hear the content, but maybe don't feel comfortable with the discussion piece, that you are welcome to do that, and we would love to see you there. Additionally, Melissa provides what's called the Wisdom Circle, which came out of a suggestion from a resident from a specific book that focused on aging and spirituality. And really, it started with some of the content in the book, but has really changed to just be a space for intentional conversation about deeper topics that come along as you age, and a chance to listen to others in that circle. And then starting next month, we're excited to announce she's going to add an additional service, which will be a mindfulness group, which will focus on various different mindfulness activities that she will program throughout the rest of the year. So we're looking forward to that. So that's Melissa's piece. And again, I'm sorry you had to have me do it. Her video probably did much better justice to it. But I can go ahead and talk for myself. I'm Ava Isley. I'm one of our health and wellness navigators here. When I started here 7 years ago, I was a licensed social worker. As of this October, I'm now a licensed independent social worker. Thank you. Which is part of kind of what evolved into looking into what we're now calling our emotional wellness consultations. So now that I have this new licensure, it would allow me to do psychotherapy as determined by Medicare, so I can legally diagnose and treat. And so that started a conversation with Dr. Mary and some of our clinical leadership team about, we knew we wanted to expand emotional wellness. We know Dr. Mary's services are wonderful, but that we need more because there's only one of her. And so we started talking about what that could look like, and if I would be doing psychotherapy like Dr. Mary, which she'll explain in more detail when I stop talking and give her the mic, or if there's something else we wanted to provide. And we landed on wanting I'm back. We landed on wanting to shift and do something a little different in my role. As we talked, we found there's a lot of things in life that come up that are difficult, right? And as you all well know, especially as you get older, there's a number of things that are very difficult, right? And there's things about life that you've never gone through before, right? That there's a lot of loss, there's a lot of change. And those things don't always have a Medicare-specific diagnosis you can attach to it. Which, if there's no diagnosis, Medicare won't pay. So we wanted to explore, how do we support that middle ground where it's not necessarily a medical diagnosis, it's not escalated to that point, but we want to be a support and provide options in there. And that's how we landed on the emotional wellness consultations, that they mirror in some ways counseling, that it's a scheduled 1-hour meeting with me where we get together and we talk about what's going on, but we look at things like mindfulness, stress management, coping skills. Sometimes it's just you need someone to talk to and you don't necessarily have an immediately available person that's not involved that you'd be able to talk through a situation with. So that's the hope and the goal of emotional wellness, is, again, to meet that space that's not quite clinical, but we know that support is needed, as well as a hope of being proactive and preventative, that if we can get some support in place, maybe this doesn't turn into a complete depressive episode, which we are so fortunate to have Dr. Mary for when that happens. And we're very grateful to have her here. But of course, if we can be preventative and proactive with things, we'd like to do that. So that's a big reason why we had Kaylee come on, because if I'm going to start having chunks of my schedule blocked off for these, we needed some additional navigator support as well. So if you haven't met Kaylee yet, please come and say hi after this. She's been doing a phenomenal job. And I will go ahead and give the mic to Dr. Mary for her to introduce herself and explain her role, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Ava. Hi, everybody. So it is so nice to be here again. I was here, I was a freshly minted psychologist when I came here the first time. There were no villas, no flats, no row and house. It looked really different. It was still a large, vibrant community. And I only left being the psychologist here to go have my kids. And I'm back. I've been here, I think, 3 years this time. I always tell my folks, full disclosure, I'm a full professor at Columbus State Community College, which is one of the reasons I talked with Ava about I need more help. I am one person. There are 500 and some people living here. And if statistics are correct, that at any time 20 to 25% of folks are struggling with a mental health condition that is diagnosable. And I don't have time, even if I were full-time here, I think, to see 100 people on my schedule. I am a licensed psychologist. My practice has always been with older adults and people who have chronic medical issues. I've been doing that work since graduate school. In fact, my very first job in high school was in a nursing home, back in the kitchen, washing dishes. It was humbling and amazing. The world revolves around food in places like this. Do you ever notice that? Like, if you want to get attendance up, if we'd offered cupcakes or drinks, like, I think we would have had double the people. But it was also an opportunity for me to see what aging looked like. And my grandmother was a huge inspiration in my life. She always said that there's wisdom as you age. The one thing people can never take from you as you get older is what you know, which I appreciated that. So I got my degree from the University of Akron in counseling and psychology. I did internships at the VA hospital. I've worked in skilled rehab and long-term care, and I am board certified in geropsychology, meaning that I've done extra training and specialty work to know how to help people with the unique challenges of late life, right? This is the hardest thing you'll ever do, is get older and do it well. And life will throw all kinds of things at you, as Ava said, many of which are new. It's the first time you've ever done any of this, right? This is the oldest day you've ever been alive right now. And so I think everybody also gets to this age with a lot of resiliency. All of you are here because you're strong. And so part of the challenge that Ava and I had, which is I'm limited supply, because I come from an outside group that is affiliated with insurance companies, is I do have to have a diagnosis. The spectrum of mental health issues ranges from something that you're coping with but you don't feel great, all the way to impairment in functioning, which is a fancy way of saying you can't do your normal life tasks because what you're dealing with is so hard. And for most people, that ebbs and flows, but for some people, it gets so bad that you get stuck and you can't pull yourself out. And that's, I think, the difference between what Ava and I and Melissa will be doing, is kind of getting a sense of who just needs that temporary bridge support to get out of that hole or prevent getting in those hard spaces, and who needs a more deliberate like longer-term intervention that is billed by insurance. And that's really kind of the criteria. Now, I've worked with a lot of folks who just have normative life issues that they're struggling with. That's okay too, but it is not something I can bill insurance for. So part of how we've figured this out too is how the referrals come. For you to see me, your physician has to approve that service and has to sign off on it. That's just a Medicare requirement. Your insurance has to say it's okay for me to see you. It's like being a child again. We have to get your parents' permission for you to come see me. But to come see Ava or Melissa, you don't need anybody's permission. That's just something that you can do independently, straight, directly with her on your schedule. I think what's different than me, is that I come to you, and Ava can come to you, or vice versa. I work here in the building. Most psychologists will not do that. You have to drive to them, to their office, somewhere out. And while I now have a small wait list, again, it's different. I'm here. I will fit you in where I can. If you're trying to get outpatient counseling, you may wait 6 to 8 months. And that's just for a psychologist. If you want to see a psychiatrist, that's even longer, and that's a whole different, we'll just push that over here. But that's, so I'm here every Wednesday. You probably have seen my face in the hallway. I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to be in such a vibrant community and support all of you. And I guess now's the time to ask questions if anybody has any.
So the question was, how do you spell my name? It's spelled Kayley. It's spelled a little different. Yes. My last name is Toth, Toth.
I love it when we've answered all the questions. Yeah, bring.
Ava, I know you pretty well, and so if I wanted to come and talk to you for an hour about something, how would I go about doing it?
Great question. So Pat's question was, if she wanted to come to do one of these emotional wellness consultations and meet with me, how would she do that? And it'd be the same way you could contact me now. You could either call me or email me, and we could schedule that time. Yes, Margaret.
I was wondering if Dr. Mary could share just some brief examples of what you're talking about as far as a community like this. What kinds of things would you normally hear?
That's such a lovely question. Thank you for asking that, Margaret. The question is if I could share some examples of what I typically might see in a community like this. And it's interesting because that's shifted through the years. I think the number one thing that I'm seeing right now is anxiety. To be quite honest, like folks who are like almost paralyzed by anxiety around what comes next. Am I going to have another illness? Am I going to develop dementia? Is actually one of the more common anxiety-related fears. What if I get sicker? What if I'm not able to take care of myself? Will I have to move inside the facility? And anxiety presents in different ways for different people. Sometimes it's a nervous feeling in the body that makes you feel sick, like your stomach is rolling and you feel a tightness in your chest or your heart is high. Other times it looks like not being able to sleep, or you're up and down all night, and it's not just for the bathroom, right? Because your head won't stop. or you're not eating the way you used to, or you feel nervous. So that's one of the examples of a common thing I see here. I see a lot of folks who have depression, clinical depression, because part of aging is a sequence of losses. And I don't just mean loss of people, although we lose people. I mean, you are in a community with shared experiences where loss is compressed because all of you have lost something to come here, which is a home, right? And sometimes that's okay. It doesn't mean, so stress isn't always bad things, like weddings are stressful too, but they're good, or babies are stressful, but they're good, right? So moving can be good and stressful. And then when that's followed by maybe a health issue that's made you not as nimble as you used to, or a fall, or a friend of yours passed, or your spouse passed, and then it just starts to kind of cascade. Every time I was just telling Abe, every time I walk in the building, I walk by the memory alcove, right? And sometimes there's a lot of books there. And even if I don't know everyone, I always pause because that's a compressed grief that for some people it builds and it's just too much and you feel like you're paralyzed. And that looks like depression. Again, you might not eat or sleep the way you used to. You may feel like you can't get out. You're not interested in doing things, or it's too painful to do things you used to because it's too hard. You might not have the energy to do that. So that's some of what I work with. And then I think the other component of what I work with, and this is something I'm trained, is cognitive difficulty. Some people are struggling, and it comes in anxiety forms or depression forms, but folks who struggle with memory issues, which can be a normal part of aging, but there's a fear of, is this dementia? And so I can work with people on managing stress that might be interfering with their ability to remember things on a day-to-day basis. So that's kind of the third top thing I work with. Adjunctively, grief and loss. Again, it's a saturated sequence of losing things, which can be good and bad, but it's just change. The only thing constant right now in your life is change. I mean, you just have to look outside at the weather, right? It was like 19, and then it was 60, and then it's going to be 80, and then it's going to be 20 again. So I think part of it is all of you are well adapted to change. You wouldn't be here today if you didn't know how to do it. Sometimes life changes so fast you can't catch your breath. And that's when either Ava or myself would come into play, is to help you find a way to catch your breath and get caught up with that level of stress. So thank you again for that question. Yeah.
I would like your opinion, or you to discuss, medication that's given for anxiety. There is a medication called sertraline that's generic. I think it's in Fosamax.
Two different meds, but yeah. So sertraline?
Yes.
So full disclosure, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a psychologist, and in the state of Ohio, we do not have prescription privileges. Some states, psychologists do have prescription privileges. I do not. I've worked in a lot of medical settings. I work with my physicians very closely. But I want to make a caveat of my training is not in prescribing. Sertraline is one of many medications that is a long-acting medication designed to help people with depression and anxiety. The reason it's pretty commonly prescribed when people are over 65 is because it has a low side effect profile, meaning that unlike some of the other medications for anxiety, it doesn't cause as many side effects as others in an aging body. But that is really a question, I think, that depends on genetics and overall health and your aging process and other medication a person is on, and a really good question for the primary care doctor to answer. I will, during sessions, ask people about their medications. I get medication lists because I want to look to see, what are you on? Is it affecting you? Is it helping you or interfering with your life? I feel like there's a balance between too many medications and the right kind of medications sometimes as we get older. And sometimes people will say, you know, I'm on this medication. I don't know if it's helping, but I sure know it's causing me problems. And the doctor says I have to take a second medication to help me with the side effects of the first medication. And then that's a broader conversation. But it's a brilliant question, which is, you know, what if you go to the doctor and you say, I'm super sad, I've lost my brother, I lost my spouse last year, I'm not feeling like myself, and they say, here's a pill. You have the right to say, I'm willing to try a medication to help my mood, but I also want to try therapy. I want to talk to somebody. In fact, more people over the age of 65 would rather do psychotherapy or counseling than take medication in most research studies. So it's a good question, though. Yeah.
How do we get, for example, from what you said,
Yeah.
talk to someone? We go to Ava?
So that's one of the things we'll do with the, well, I don't know if we'll get the Touchdown tutorial if we can't get this up. Or we've got help, yay. So the question is, how do we get to talk to somebody? And there will be an option on Touchdown under the emotional wellness. There's a new button where you can link and you can see how to connect with Melissa or Ava or myself. Up until this moment, what has happened is because Ava knows all of you so well, is she has talked to people who come to her and she will initiate that conversation. It sounds like you could use somebody to talk to. Would you like to talk to Dr. Mary? Here's what that entails. And some people are like all on board and other people are like, I don't want to see a shrink, which is totally valid. Technically, I'm not a shrink, but it's okay. But I think there's a real thing about, there's a lot of stigma around mental health, and what if somebody sees you come in my apartment, and what does that mean in a place like this where it is a small town? And so part of it is she has filtered that referral through her, and then I've been able to call people and set up appointment times directly with them, whether to meet at your place, or I have a little room on the 3rd floor of Ash Run that I meet with people. Or Ava's like, you know what, why don't we meet a couple of times and see if I can help you? And if that works, we'll keep meeting. And if that doesn't work, then we can make that referral. So I think the goal of today is try to teach all of you what that looks like, how to get that information on Touchdown, and then try it out for a couple months and see how that works. I'd love to tell you that I have an outpatient therapist in my office that's a mile from here, that if you're not comfortable seeing me or Ava or anybody in the building, I've been referring to Dr. Ferry, but she just informed me on Monday she is retiring, which I forgot to tell you. She's turning 71 and she decided to stop working. So until I replace her, I can't refer out to somebody I know. But that always is an option between Melissa and I. We work for large group practices. Centiro does take Medicare. I do know other providers. So if you are hearing us today and you're like, I don't want to do this in-house, but I want help finding someone, I am more than happy, and I know Ava is more than happy in helping you connect with somebody that isn't us. For whatever reasons, you don't even need to tell us why. Just say, I don't want to do this here, but help me find someone, and we're happy to do that.
Is Centiro the company you work for?
It is, yeah.
What is it exactly?
No, that's a great question. So we've been throwing around the word Centiro. The question is, what is Centiro? Centiro is a large group mental health practice here in Columbus. They have 5 locations, I think. I wish Melissa was here. They have locations here in Dublin. They have one in Upper Arlington, one in Reynoldsburg. I don't remember where the others are, but I know they have 5 physical locations, and they also do telehealth, which means that you could see a therapist using your computer. They have licensed independent social workers like Ava and Melissa. They have psychologists like myself, and they also have licensed counselors, which is a different counseling degree. My company is called Reflections Health and Wellness. We are a separate company, and our specialty is only older adulthood. In fact, of the 6 clinicians we have, only 1 doesn't work in long-term care facilities like this. Most of us work in retirement communities, nursing homes, skilled rehabilitation facilities. So that is our specialty practice. Centiro sees all ages and people of all residential options. So yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
I'm thrilled that Friendship Village is doing this as a lifelong user situation of emotional and exactly your kind of counseling. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
Valuable, and it's wonderful to know that when I can't go out to my normal person that I would normally see, that is, going to be much more in-house, and also the monthly in-house. And I'm sure we're, again, I can compare 4 retirement communities, 3 in Columbus and 1 in Cleveland, that don't hold a candle in the programming, and I'm positive don't begin to hold a candle in the mental health area, which is absolutely, at our age, our stage, the whole rest of our life, our previous life and now, is foremost. If we don't have that, we don't have it.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. For those of you who couldn't hear, she was just, I'm going to extrapolate, waxing poetic about Friendship Villages, apostolizing about the community programming here and how good it is. I do want to, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a minute. I will say I've worked in a lot of facilities in the Columbus area. This was my full-time job when I was a new psychologist, and at my peak, I went to 24 different facilities every week. Friendship Village is one of the best in Columbus, back then and now. It continues to improve. Like every healthcare agency, it has its challenges, right? When you get this big, there's always going to be gaps. There's always going to be struggles. I want to acknowledge that one of the things I've loved about Friendship Village is when you bring a problem to them, they will say, hey, we didn't know, or we're aware, and we're working to improve. And so this is one of the pieces right now is we know that part of healthy aging is good physical health, good cognitive health, good emotional health, and good relationships, right? Those are the 4 keys to good, healthy aging. And we know they have a lot, I mean, all I have to do is look at Touchtown, and I'm just intimidated by the number of different physical programming you can go to. You can go to dance, chair yoga, you can work out, there's 2 different gyms, you got the pool, like it's brilliant. There's all kinds of relationship building activities, social things you can go to. There's all kinds of cognitive activities. We've got the Stronger Memory program going on, this Wisdom Circle, there's spiritual activities. So I think this emotional wellness component that we want to push and be more proactive about, that's the last piece of the puzzle to really embed in all of the pieces of Friendship Village. So that, I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that's really what I see is Ava kind of being the person who can ensure that all of us are doing everything we can to be emotionally healthy and to support people in that process. Other thoughts or questions? Do we want to try to get the Touchtown going? Oh, yeah.
I have a question for Ava.
Yes, so Chris was asking me to describe the wisdom circle, and Nancy has a smile on her face because Nancy was actually the resident who brought it to Melissa. There was a specific book that looked at spirituality and aging that had this concept within it of the wisdom circle, really of older adults coming together to talk more about deep, meaningful activities, deep things that have to do with spirituality. And from that, it's kind of evolved to really what Melissa said is it's a listening space and a space for deep conversations. So she'll bring a prompt or some thoughts to the circle, and then there'll be space for everyone to discuss that together. Okay, well, Raphael has come to save the day for our Touchtown tutorial, which I will just say, Kaylee, this was her first main project coming here. She's done a phenomenal job of compiling all of this for us. And yeah, we'll make sure we're not blinded. That's a really good point. So we're very excited to show you that. At this point, I think I'll just keep moving. Okay. Oh, I saw blue. I promise we didn't touch anything when you left.
We were being good. Oh, it's showing up on the TV.
On the other one. Yay! Thank you.
We'll keep changes. I think that it was just. And you can.
All right. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you so much, Raphael. Okay, yes. So if you see here, this emotional wellness icon on Touchtown is new. It used to say Centero. I believe we have. It used to say Centero, but now it's just emotional wellness. So we're going to click into here. And our first folder says emotional wellness services. And this here is an emotional wellness resources little pamphlet that has Melissa and things that you might be interested in. So if you're interested in monthly group discussion, wanting deeper community connection, you have a little bit of information on there. The emotional wellness consultations is Ava, and then we have Dr. Mary Lewis and other support groups at Friendship Village. Over here, we have a comparison. This is a Venn diagram of what Dr. Mary Lewis offers and what Ava offers. So both services offer emotional support and stress management, which is here in the middle, and then what they each offer on the sides over here as well. We have Centero, and they have their own flyer here. And this is Melissa Brundage. If you didn't know who she was, this is Melissa. And it has some information here that on the second Friday of each month, she does come over here and does some programming with us. So you're able to connect with Centero if you want more information by clicking on the Connect with Centero tab and opening this button here, and it takes you right to their website if you're interested in that. Third, we have emotional wellness consultations with Ava over here, and it'll give you a little bit of information on what it is. So these are 1-hour private sessions, what the focus is. It'll also give you a little best for symbol here. So if you need caregiving support or going through grief, this is a great little resource. Along with Friendship Village of Dublin, we have a caregiver support group on the third Thursday of every month, located at the chapel from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And if you want more information, you can contact Ava or I, and it's right here, as well as our grief support group, which is also located at the chapel. This is the fourth Thursday of every month. And Ava and Fred run this group. Lastly, we have Reflections Health and Wellness. And I love this little quote right here, mental health is health. And this is Dr. Mary's company, and just a little bit of information on how to get started. You can also click into Connect with Dr. Mary Lewis, and it'll open up this tab of the actual Reflections Health and Wellness website. So this is our new emotional wellness icon on Touchtown, and if you need any more help, please let me know. All right, we just wanted to close by saying thank you so much, everyone, for coming and for giving us your time on this lovely spring day. We really enjoyed having you here and just wanted to give a warm welcome to, or warm thank you to Dr. Mary Lewis as well as Ava.